It happened the week my son turned 1. A week I was supposed to bake him his first cake, not learn how cold the world could get when your own father locks the door on you. I'd broken my leg 2 days earlier at my part-time job at the diner. The tile floor was slick, and one wrong step sent me tumbling. I came home on crutches, embarrassed but grateful it wasn't worse. But when my father saw me, he didn't see his daughter limping. He saw what he always called me, a liability. "Can't even walk straight, and you expect to feed that brat?" He spat, staring at my baby, Nathan, sleeping in my arms. "Leeches don't crawl into this house asking for sympathy." Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. I froze at the doorway. My leg ached so bad I could barely stand. Mom stood behind him, arms crossed, her lips curling with that cruel amusement she reserved for my pain. "She thinks breaking a bone earns her a medal. Maybe we should hang a disabled and proud banner out front," she mocked, sipping her tea like she was watching a comedy show. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. But Nathan started fussing, so I rocked him gently, trying to calm him, and myself. "Dad, please," I said quietly. "Just let me stay until I can get back to work. I'll pay you rent when my next check." That was when he slammed his fist into the wall so hard I flinched. "You think we're your bank? You and that mistake you call a child have been nothing but dead weight. You broke your leg? Good. Maybe now you'll crawl back to whatever gutter you came from." He grabbed my crutches, yanked them from under my arms, and threw them across the floor. I stumbled and nearly fell, clutching Nathan to my chest. The sound of my baby's cry filled the hallway, sharp, terrified, echoing off the cracked wallpaper. Mom didn't even blink. "Don't drop him," she said flatly. "We don't want another reason for you to beg for pity." Outside, the rain was pounding. I could see the reflection of the porch light on the puddles forming by the steps. I knew what was coming. That same cruel game they played when they wanted control. I'd be humiliated, forced to apologize, forced to say I was wrong for needing anything. But that night, they didn't even bother pretending it was a game. Dad opened the door, the wind slamming against his face, and barked, "Go crawl, Leech!" For a second, I thought he was bluffing, that some faint piece of humanity would stop him. But when he shoved me with his shoulder, sending me stumbling out into the cold, I realized he meant every word. The pain shot up my broken leg like fire. I nearly fell, but tightened my grip around Nathan. He screamed from the sudden chill, his small body trembling in my arms. I begged, "Please, just until the storm passes, I can sleep in the hallway." The door slammed, and through the window, I saw them, laughing. My sister Danielle on the couch, scrolling through her phone, smirking. "Guess the Leech finally learned to swim," she said. Rain soaked through my clothes in minutes. I tried to make it to the curb, dragging myself with one arm while holding Nathan close with the other. Every step sent lightning through my injured leg. His little face was pressed to my chest, his cries muffled by the rain. I reached the end of the driveway, and that's when I fell. The crutchless weight gave out, and I collapsed into the mud. Nathan started sobbing harder, and for a moment, I broke. I screamed into the storm, but no one answered. That night, under the orange glow of a distant streetlight, I swore I would never beg them again. A neighbor, Mrs. Greer, found me hours later. She wrapped us in blankets, drove me to the emergency room, and stayed until morning. She didn't ask for anything. She just whispered, "You don't deserve that, honey." Those words became my anchor. I got a temporary shelter placement. I slept on a cot beside Nathan's crib and stared at the ceiling every night, remembering the laughter behind that slammed door. I promised myself that one day when they needed warmth, I'd make sure the only thing they'd find was the cold they gave me. It wasn't vengeance yet, not even close. It was survival. But in the quiet corners of that shelter, with one good leg and a baby who needed me, I started building something they could never take away. A plan. And someday, that plan would make them beg for shelter they'd never see again. The shelter became my turning point. The walls smelled faintly of bleach and burnt coffee, and every morning started with the distant cries of babies. But for the first time in years, I didn't wake up to shouting. Mrs. Greer stopped by often, always bringing small things, A warm blanket, a jar of soup, sometimes just a smile that reminded me not everyone was cruel. The doctor had said I'd need 6 weeks for my leg to heal. It took me 9, hobbling with a borrowed crutch, working small shifts at the laundromat across the street. Nathan stayed in a playpen near the dryers, babbling while I folded strangers' clothes. Each coin I earned went into a mason jar, my escape fund. Sometimes, between cycles, I'd think about the night Dad kicked me out. The image of his grin through the window haunted me, that satisfaction of watching me suffer. I used to think hate was poison. Now I realized it was fuel. One day, while folding towels, I saw a flyer pinned near the door. Community College, Evening Business Program. I still had scars up my leg, but I picked up that paper and didn't let go. By the end of that week, I was attending classes. Nathan came with me, asleep in his stroller, while I sat in the back row scribbling notes. I worked 2 jobs, laundromat by day, diner by night, surviving on caffeine and stubbornness. Every ache in my leg was a reminder of what they'd taken from me and what I'd reclaim. Months passed. I got an apartment, tiny, damp, but mine. Nathan learned to walk across its cracked linoleum, giggling when he fell. That laugh became my heartbeat. I taped my old family photo to the fridge, not for love, but as a reminder of the people I'd never be again. Then, life shifted again. My business professor, Mr. Hanley, called me after class one night. "You've got an instinct," he said. "Ever thought about starting something of your own?" I hadn't, but that seed stayed. Within a year, I launched a small cleaning service, Shine and Rise. What began as me scrubbing offices turned into a team of 5 women from the shelter, all survivors like me. I watched it grow like a stubborn flower through concrete. The day I opened our second branch, my phone rang. The number made my heart stop. Dad. For the first time in years. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. "Hello?" His voice was smaller than I remembered, ragged, desperate. "Lena, we need help. The roof's leaking. Your mom, she's sick. The house." I didn't speak. The silence stretched, just like that night in the rain. Finally, he whispered, "Please, we don't have anywhere to go." I looked around my bright office, the smell of lemon cleaner, the sound of my employees laughing in the hallway. I thought of Nathan, now 4, coloring quietly in the corner with the women he called aunties. Something inside me settled. "Dad," I said softly, "you told me once garbage belongs with garbage. I hope you found a dumpster big enough." He gasped, but I hung up. That was the first time I felt peace. I didn't plan revenge that night. I lived it. Every success, every smile, every warm bed Nathan and I had was justice. But the real reckoning, that was still coming. Because a storm was brewing back home, one that would make them beg for shelter again. Only this time, I'd be the one holding the door shut. Winter came back like a ghost that year, biting wind, gray skies, and that same hollow chill that once pushed me out into the rain. But this time, I had heat. I had a home that smelled like cinnamon and baby lotion. Nathan had his own room, with little glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Life had texture again, warmth, noise, meaning. I thought I was done with the past. But the past wasn't done with me. One night, while I was finishing payroll for my cleaning business, there was a knock on the door. It was the kind of knock that doesn't just ask. It begs. Heavy, uneven, trembling. I looked through the peephole and my stomach turned. Dad. And behind him, Mom. They looked like ghosts of themselves. Dad's hair uncombed, skin gray from exhaustion. Mom clutched a worn grocery bag, her fingers shaking. The woman who once stood tall in judgment now hunched like a shadow. I opened the door halfway. Cold air pushed in. "Lena," Dad's startled voice, breaking. "We didn't know where else to go. The house, it's gone. The bank took it. Danielle moved away. Said she's not our problem anymore." I looked at him. The same man who once ripped my crutches away while I begged for mercy. The same man who told me to crawl like a leech. I said nothing. Mom stepped forward, her voice cracking. "Your father's been sick. I haven't eaten in 2 days." Please, we just need a place to stay for a few nights." For a moment, I saw flashes. The rain, Nathan crying, the sound of the door slamming. My heart raced. I could almost smell that wet concrete, feel the ache in my leg. Behind me, Nathan toddled out of his room. "Mommy, who's that?" he asked, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. Dad's eyes softened when he saw him. "He's gotten big," he murmured, a ghost of a smile forming. "You did good, Lena. You're stronger than I thought." And that was the final straw, that sudden softness, that attempt to rewrite the story as if they hadn't left me for dead in a storm. I stepped aside. "Come in," I said quietly. They entered like stray dogs, unsure, watching everything, afraid to hope. I handed them each a mug of tea and sat across the table. The silence was thick enough to choke on. Dad finally broke it. "We were wrong, Lena, about everything. We didn't think you'd make it." I laughed, a small, sharp laugh that felt foreign in my own mouth. "You didn't think I'd make it? You didn't want me to make it. You wanted to prove you were right, that I was weak, useless, disposable. You threw your own daughter into the storm and called it discipline." Mom tried to reach for my hand. "We were angry. We didn't mean—" "Don't," I said coldly. "You meant every word. I remember each one." Nathan watched from the hallway, sensing tension but too young to understand. I smiled at him gently. "It's okay, baby. Go to your room. Mommy's just talking to some old memories." He obeyed. When I turned back to them, the tea in their hands had gone cold. "You want a place to stay?" I asked. "Fine, I'll give you one." Their faces lit up, relief, disbelief, shame all tangled together. "Thank you, sweetheart," Mom whispered. But I wasn't finished. "There's a condition. You'll work for me, cleaning the offices I built from nothing. You'll mop floors, scrub sinks, and take orders from the same kind of women you used to call garbage. You'll earn your bed and your food. No free rides." Dad's jaw dropped. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm deadly serious." Mom's face twisted. "You'd humiliate your parents like that?" I leaned forward, my voice calm but sharp. "You already did that to me. You threw me into the rain with a broken leg and a screaming child. I spent nights praying he wouldn't freeze. You don't get to cry now." Dad slammed his mug down, his pride flickering like an old flame. "We're not your servants." I stood, towering over them in my own home. "You're not my parents either. Not anymore." They left that night. I thought maybe they'd find another couch to crash on. But 2 days later, I saw them again, outside the back door of my cleaning office. It was raining, just like that night years ago. They were soaked, shivering, sitting under the flickering streetlight. When our team arrived the next morning, Mrs. Greer, now my head supervisor, looked at me and whispered, "They've been out there all night." I stared through the glass. Dad's hands were wrapped around Mom's shoulders, trying to keep her warm. They looked small, broken, human. Something inside me twisted. Not pity, not forgiveness, just closure. I opened the door slowly. "You're late for your shift," I said quietly. Mom looked up, stunned. "You mean—" I nodded once. "There's cleaning gear in the closet. Don't be gentle with the floors. They're dirty, like everything you built." That day, they worked in silence. They didn't meet my eyes, but when Dad limped past me later, I caught him looking at Nathan, who was sitting on my office floor, drawing a family, just the two of us. For the first time, Dad didn't look angry. He looked empty. After hours, I paid them. The same hourly wage as the others. No extra pity. No family discount. Just work for pay. They came back the next day, and the next. Each week, they grew quieter, humbler, smaller. Mom stopped wearing jewelry. Dad stopped shouting. They started saying thank you. To me, to the women they'd once looked down on. And then one morning, they didn't show up. I found a note on my desk in Mom's shaky handwriting. "We don't deserve your roof, your money, or your mercy. But thank you for showing us what real strength looks like. We're leaving the city. Don't worry about us anymore." I stared at that note for a long time. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in my drawer beside my first dollar earned from the business. Years later, on another cold night, I took Nathan to the same shelter where it all began. I donated new beds, clothes, and books for every mother and child there. On the plaque at the entrance, I wrote one line: "For those who were thrown out, build your own door." And when I walked back into the rain, I didn't shiver anymore, because I was no longer the girl who crawled. I was the woman they begged to stand beside, and I never let them in again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.